Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here again for another vintage carded toy haul. And today we're featuring a trio of figures that I've recently picked up. And these are all Toybiz action figures. I'm very fond of Toybiz. They made some great figures back in the day, and they also saved Marvel from bankruptcy. So, let's get started. Um, let's start here with this. We have Marvel Comics Iron Man, Spider-Woman with psionic web hurling action. So I never had this figure back in the day, but I found this for a super reasonable price. I think I want to say maybe like $7 or $8. Mint on card. The card is a little beat up, but it's all right. Like I said in previous videos, I'm kind of on the hunt for some carded Toybiz action figures. I'm not looking to build up a giant collection. I just want a figure or two from like the different toy lines, whether it's Spider-Man, X-Men, or in this case, Iron Man. I'm a fan of the Spider-Woman character. So when I saw this, I'm like, why not? The card's nice. It represents a period of time I was very nostalgic for. And, it looks cool. It's very awesome. Spider-Woman, nice bio on the character, instructions on the play feature. And I love seeing the other toy lineups that were available. There's the Fantastic Four and also Iron Man. Yeah, great time, great period of my life. These came out back in 1994. So I was a senior in high school and a freshman in college. I was dabbling in toy collecting back then. And I have fond memories of going to KB Toys at the mall. And then, KB, they always had deals. Everything was always priced at $3.99. So, yeah, very fond memories. Awesome. And now we come to this. This is Hercules, The Legendary Journeys. And we have Xena. This was a figure that I had back in the day, and I sold it, and I kind of regretted it just because, not that I was the biggest Xena fan, but I think it's more so about just trying to buy back the memories. This is almost kind of like a weird Harry Potter Horcrux kind of thing. Like, I have such fond memories of hunting toys with my best friend JC, and I remember when, I came across the Hercules line of action figures at maybe Toys R Us or KB Toys. Back then, I just wanted, certain figure representation of Xena. I wanted a Lucy Lawless figure. And there were actually two, I believe, when this line came out. There was this one, and then there was another one where she was in a red outfit. But I remember being fond of this figure. I'd watch Hercules every now and then, but I think I was a bigger fan of Xena than Hercules. I thought that was a funner TV show. But yeah, great figure. Again, this was produced by Toybiz back in the day. This came out in 1995, so some years back, many years back actually. Really cool. And that brings us to our main event. We have XMen 2099 La Lunatica with futuristic highlight. That's a sport, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Alright, so there's a very funny story about this figure. And this figure in particular. Alright, so I sold this action figure maybe 6 to 8 years ago to my buddy Aaron. He runs Wax Packs, Records and Toys in Roselle, Illinois. If you're into action figures and live in the Chicagoland area, check the store out. It's great. I've said this in other videos before. I'm very attached to the store. During the early days of the store, I helped set it up. And I don't know, Aaron's a good buddy of mine, and I don't know, he has a great selection of vintage and modern toys. So yeah, check it out if you get the chance. So 6 to 8 years ago, I sold some toys to Aaron. This was one of them. So the figure I'm holding right now is actually my actual figure from back in the day. I sold this to Aaron maybe 6 to 8 years ago. I think at the time I was collecting Marvel Legends, and I kind of had that mentality where I was like, I don't need my Toybiz figures anymore. I have these much more superior Marvel Legend figures. So I sold off my carded collection of Toybiz figs, and ever since I did that, I kind of regretted it ever since. And I was at the shop last week, and I came across this figure, and I just stared at it. I'm like, I think that's my actual figure from back in the 90s. And I looked at the package carefully, and there was one thing that I'll always remember about my original toy. In the upper right corner, I remember I damaged the original card. And when I was at the shop, I was looking at this. I'm like, oh my God, this is my toy. The card is damaged in the exact same area. So I think this figure was priced at maybe like $7 or $8. And I'm like, I got to buy it back. I bought it, cleaned it up. It was all dusty. And what was even funnier is that when I had this toy, it was on display on my wall for like years. And it collected this like incredibly disgusting amount of like grime and dust on the top. And when I took this figure down from the shelf at the store, I was looking at it. I'm like, okay, there's damage on the card here. It has to be mine. But the minute I saw that layer of dust on the top, I'm like, this is 100% my action figure. So just for like shits and giggles, I bought it back. And I haven't regretted it ever since, because there's a flood of memories that's associated with this action figure. So I bought this action figure way back when at KB Toys in Woodfield Mall, located in Schaumburg, Illinois. I was with my buddy JC. I remember when we saw the XMen 2099 line, I'm like, it's. I read some of the comics. They were kind of silly, but I remember I was drawn to this figure because it was the female figure. And back then, we kind of had that weird mentality that the female figures were always like short cased. So if there was ever a case assortment, for some reason, I think it was always like one female figure per case. So anytime I ran into a female action figure, I'd buy it thinking it'd be worth a lot of money in the future. Joke's on me, they're worth nothing. But yeah, I bought this La Lunatica thinking that, oh, it's the only female figure in the case assortment. It'd be cool to have. Because in my head, I thought maybe it was like the equivalent of a chase figure. So I bought it. We got back in my car and we drove around. I think we might have went out for lunch and ate burgers or something. And then afterwards, we went to a Toys R Us that was maybe like 20 minutes away in Arlington Heights, Illinois. And then while we were there, they had the new assortment of Spawn action figures. And then I was like, oh my God, they have the new Spawn figures. But then, I didn't have any cash on me. So I blew all my cash on this figure, and I blew all my cash on lunch. And then I think I only had a couple of dollars left. But I had this action figure sitting in my car, and in my head, the gears were spinning. And I was thinking, you know what? I could try returning this figure to Toys R Us and get some cash back. And then by then, I should have enough cash to buy, the new Spawn figure that I wanted. So then we went back to my car, and I grabbed this figure. And I'm like, but it has the KB price tag on it. So then I'm like, I'll just rip the tag off very carefully. And then lo and behold, I accidentally ripped the card. But then I'm like, you know what? I'll just tell the people at customer service at Toys R Us that this action figure was a gift. And then, they'll take it, and, I'll have some extra cash, and then we could buy the Spawn figure and take off. So then I grabbed the figure, and then we went to customer service, and I'm like, I'd like to make a return. So I remember I handed this off to a girl who was probably my age at the time. Maybe she was like 18 or 19. And then I was like, okay, I got this as a gift. I'd like to return this for cash. And then she took it. She's like, okay, no problem. And then she took the barcode reader, and then she scanned the barcode, and then she had this weird look on her face, and then she was like, I'm sorry, this toy isn't one of ours. And then for a second, I'm like, what do you mean? It was a gift, and it was a gift, and the person who got it for me told me it was from this Toys R Us. I just don't have the receipt on me. And then she's like, no, I'm looking in our system. This figure isn't one of ours. And then just right then and there, I knew I was made. And then I'm like, she's on to us. Let's just give this up. And I took the figure, held my head down, and we just left the store. And I felt defeated because, I had this elaborate plan that maybe I'd be able to return this figure, get some cash, and then buy that Spawn figure. But, my mission failed. And I think I came back to Toys R Us a few days later and bought the Spawn figure I wanted. But it was just a funny thing. It's like, and I remember leaving the store laughing, and we're kind of embarrassed, and it was just a fun memory. So yeah, I mean, I think for me right now, I'm in this period of time in my life where I'm just nostalgic for, like, yesteryear when I was like younger and in college and stuff, and the silly adventures we'd go on just to, like, for the sake of like action figures and toys. That's something I think that's missing now, for my life, just because, and not necessarily because of the state of the world, because, like, either you're locked down or you don't see your friends, whatever. But, nowadays things are different, like when new toys are unveiled, they tell you to hit up these websites to pre-order them. And for me, I'm all about the hunt. I love going on adventures with my friends. Back in the day when you'd hunt for toys, it wasn't always about the toys. Sometimes you might like chill over lunch or hang out at someone's house to check out their collection and go on a toy run, or if you go out to a movie, like for example, one time we saw Blade, we saw a midnight screening, and immediately after the movie let out, we were all psyched on this, like, wanting Blade products, this Blade anything. And we remember there was a 24-hour Walmart near the movie theater, and like we were like, we got to hit up that Walmart, we got to buy all the Blade figures, so it's that silly period of your life when you're younger and you're stupid and you don't have any responsibilities. And I'm just really nostalgic for that. And for me, some of these action figures, it takes me back. Like for me, the cost of paying $8 for an old toy I used to have just to like find a moment of happiness in my life right now, it's like priceless. And I'm sure this is a very short phase I'm going through, but for now, I'm just going to embrace it. As long as I keep this kind of reasonable, it's not like I'm paying an arm and a leg. For me, this is $7. It's, comparable to buying like a budget toy at Target. And I'm not really about buying like a lot of the newer stuff right now. So, if I get a kick out of this, and if I can share these stories with you, and if it like kind of if that alone opens up the floodgates, and you're like washed away with like fond memories of like yesteryear, I think, for me, that's mission accomplished. I think sometimes people look at the toy collecting hobby as something weird and odd, but there's a certain amount of nostalgia involved, especially nowadays when we talk so much about mental health and trying to find a happy place in your life, trying to find a little bit of peace. If you could find, that kind of solidarity in your mind just because of a plastic toy, I think more power to you. Granted, keep it within reason, don't blow your life savings on, on toys just because they make you happy. But, if you could find like, an old shoebox of like Matchbox cars, or if you're visiting your parents' house and they have your old toys in their attic, it's always worth revisiting those memories, because, those memories are very priceless, and they can like return you to a place in your life where you're very happy, and that could very much ground you in the here and now, and kind of like reset you to like take on tomorrow. So with that being said, I think I've traveled in the time machine enough for one day. Wrapping this up, once again, my name is Lou. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for your continued likes, comments, and support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one.